Hey Sola, it's Bill. I just heard from your mom that you got the rock collection. I'm really, really excited about it. It's a really good one, I think. It's got, the five different kinds of rocks: the sedimentary, the metamorphic, the igneous, and it also throws in some fossils and some other cool stuff. I did notice that there's a couple things that might be confusing to you after you've read a lot and you've seen things about sedimentary rocks that might be a little bit confusing. So I thought I would just explain some of the rocks that you actually got in the kit. If you could go right now and grab your collection and bring over all of the sedimentary rocks in their little case and bring over your hand lens, let's talk about the rocks that you've got there. Okay? I'll give you a minute to go do that. Okay, I imagine you're back now. And in your case, you've got, I forget how many there are, 10, 8, 9, 10 rocks in the sedimentary case. Now, first off, why don't you pull out the ones that are labeled shale, mudrock, siltstone, sandstone, and conglomerate. Pull those out of the case and lay them down in that order right in front of you. Say, put the conglomerate on your left and the shale on your right, and put them there. Those are sedimentary rocks like we talked about in Colorado. Remember the whole mountain and rivers that would smash up the mountain and bring the rocks down and deposit them in a lake or an ocean or a river. These five rocks are that kind of rock. You've seen these before. And the only reason we have different names for these things is because these are rocks whose grain size varies a lot. And that's how we classify these kinds of sedimentary rocks. So there's a shale and a mudstone, a siltstone, a sandstone, a conglomerate. They've all been created just like the process we talked about in Colorado. The only thing that makes them different, so that geologists can talk to one another about the rocks, is the size of the grains. Pick up the conglomerate rock right now. Take a look at it. Now you see those grains, those are stuck together. You don't even need your hand lens to see those. So the conglomerate has really big, chunky grains in it. Now put that down. Pick up the shale rock. Take your hand lens and try to look at that shale. Those grains are so tiny, you probably can't even see them with the hand lens. Now if you just go and grab the mudstone, probably the same thing. You might be able to see a couple of grains, but they're really small. They're bigger than the shale, but not as big as the next one. Pick up the siltstone. Look at that with your hand lens. Now you can start seeing the grains pretty clearly, I'll bet. And then you go to the sandstone. The grains are completely big, and you can see them even without the hand lens. And then the conglomerate, as I just told you, has big giant grains stuck on it. So we classify this kind of sedimentary rock by the size of the grains that make up the rock. So it's a good classification system, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. You don't have to remember a lot of the names. Just know that there are certain sedimentary rocks, the vast majority that you'll see, they come about by that process that we talked about in Colorado. And these are the names, from the smallest grain size at shale all the way to the biggest at conglomerate. Now you say, well, that's pretty cool, but so what? What does that mean? What does that tell us? So they're different size grains. Well, one thing that it can tell you is how much energy did it take to make that rock? When I say energy, what I'm talking about is picture yourself on a lake beach. See the water, nice and flat, calm, a couple of little ripples from wind. Now picture yourself on the beach at Galveston or Corpus Christi or someplace like that. Big waves, tidal currents, you've got choppiness, you have tides. That water has a lot of energy in it. So when you look at the rock, you can tell, where did this rock come from? Did it come from a quiet bay, a really still kind of little back bay that has almost no waves, no current, that would be a shale. Those rocks are so tiny, they move with this tiniest bit of energy. Now a conglomerate, which is big chunky ones, it needs a big amount of energy. And as you probably remember, when you go to the beach, you see sand everywhere, and that's the sandstone right in the middle. That's just a little aside. So these rocks are the kinds that are built by what we were talking about. And they go from really big grains to really small grains. So shale, mudstone, siltstone, sandstone, and conglomerate. Take a look at all of those rocks with your hand lens and see if you can see that the grains are getting a little bit bigger as you go from the shale down to the conglomerate. Just take a look at that.